Most of you do know. But if you don't, I was blocked by Ryan Reynolds. Yes. So Joe Rogan just entered the chat and he is team Justin Baldoni.
Have you ever watched a carefully crafted Hollywood couple and thought, there's no way they're as perfect as they seem? Well, buckle up, because the glossy veneer around Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds is starting to crack.
And it's absolutely absurd and it's not going to work.
Accusations, counter-accusations, and a $400 million lawsuit are swirling around them. And it all points back to Justin Baldoni and some scathing comments from Joe Rogan.
He's using it to assert control over Justin Baldoni, destroy his life. Essentially, it was destroying his family, his health, and everything else.
People are furious, lines are being drawn, and reputations are on the chopping block. If you thought the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard saga was the final lesson in Hollywood drama, think again. This feud might be the next big turning point. Justin Baldoni is not a stranger to the public eye. He gained popularity for his directing chops, production ventures, and a reputation for being a genuinely good guy. Meanwhile, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds have long been the it couple, beloved for their witty online banter, comedic timing, and squeaky clean brand. On paper, these three seem destined to remain on friendly terms in the industry.
This is what you get. You're trying to fucking ruin a guy's livelihood by using the Me Too movement.
Because they were trying to take over the movie.
Yeah.
They were trying to take over the movie and the whole franchise. He owned the franchise.
They're fucked.
The whole thing's crazy.
They're fucked.
And he's suing the New York Times.
But beneath the smiles and playful jabs on social media, rumors had been bubbling. The tension apparently built over the film It Ends With Us, where Baldoni and Lively were working together. Instead of an amicable collaboration, people started whispering about power grabs and creative differences. Still, no one could have guessed it would spiral into public accusations of harassment, or that Joe Rogan, of all people, would blow it wide open. In the early days of this controversy,
It's a bunch of fabrication and lies, and then you see the control that she took over the movie. And I just don't see how any of these reporters are coming to that conclusion other than they are just trying to meet some type of agenda.
the public and media mostly sided with Lively and Reynolds. After all, they've been a golden couple for so long that any negative headlines felt like a tabloid's fever dream. Baldoni, in contrast, kept a low profile. He wasn't out there throwing shade. It looked like he might be overwhelmed, or even intimidated, by two A-list stars with powerful connections. Little did we know, Baldoni had something up his sleeve, proof. And not just any proof. Receipts so detailed that not even the slickest PR campaigns could spin them away.
That's what it takes.
That's what it takes.
It's like Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
He's like, all right,
Yeah.
he did for the boys.
Exactly. You got to do it.
You need real motherfuckers to be like, nah, man, I ain't going out like this.
Yeah, especially a guy like that. It was like known as being like this really sweet, nice guy.
Yeah.
It all began with allegations that Baldoni had made Blake Lively uncomfortable on set. People whispered about a breastfeeding incident in her trailer, about the kind of boundary crossing that could torpedo a career if the press picked it up. The hashtags were ready. The tabloids pounced on any whiff of scandal, and the conversation quickly framed Baldoni as the villain. But while mainstream outlets started highlighting the alleged harassment, something strange happened. Joe Rogan decided to comment on the situation. Rogan's podcast might not be known primarily for celebrity gossip, but his influence is undeniable.
And then it's like, all right,
Dude,
enough.
he posted the receipts.
Oh,
He's like,
the
oh,
receipts are
remember our
crazy.
text exchange? Bah, bah,
How about she
bah,
told
bah.
him to come into the dressing room while she was breastfeeding?
Millions of viewers and listeners tune in for his straight talk approach, and he didn't hold back. He accused Blake and Ryan of manipulating the narrative, implying they used the spotlight on harassment not to protect anyone, but to seize control of the film. In Rogan's view, the beloved power couple had turned a serious social issue into a personal weapon. Critics labeled Rogan's take as inflammatory. Some insisted he just liked being controversial. But if there's one thing Rogan's known for, it's pushing people to question official stories. His podcast fans began to investigate, piling on his social media and digging up documents, interviews, anything that could shed light on the real story. Suddenly, the tide began to shift.
Blake Lively, talk about ruining your reputation, and Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, they fucked up. Ryan's trying to get out of it now. He's trying to get out of the lawsuit. And they're like, you are a key part of this.
This is what you get, though.
Baldoni wasn't a creep or a lurking predator, at least not according to this growing group of skeptics. Instead, they sat and came the receipts that shattered the initial narrative. Baldoni released a string of text messages, voice memos, and behind-the-scenes footage that painted a very different picture than the one Lively and Reynolds were promoting. One of the biggest bombshells? The infamous breastfeeding incident. According to Lively, Baldoni invaded her space in a private moment, a claim that created immediate outrage. But texts proved she'd invited him into the trailer, someone fighting a giant PR machine head-on.
Only Blake Lively thing?
Bro, Blake Lively, talk about ruin your reputation, and Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, they fucked up. Ryan's trying to get out of it now. He's trying to get out of the lawsuit, and they're like, you were a key part of this.
This is what you get, though. This is what you get. You're trying to fucking ruin a guy's livelihood.
That revelation was enough to make many people do a double take. Why would Blake say Baldoni walked in unannounced if she had actually told him to come in? What else was being twisted or exaggerated? Joe Rogan latched onto these discrepancies. He described it as Hollywood's classic tactic, leaning on public sympathy without expecting anyone to call their bluff. Once Baldoni's evidence went live, it felt like the entire story had been flipped overnight. Fans who had previously assumed Baldoni was guilty began posting online apologies, expressing shock that they'd bought into Lively's statements so readily.
He owned the franchise.
They're fucked.
The whole thing's crazy.
They're fucked.
And he's suing the New York Times, and he's got a great case
He's
there
going hard in
too.
the paint. But
He
that's
should.
what it takes.
That's what it takes.
It's like Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
He's like, all right.
The conversation went from, "I can't believe Baldoni did that," to, "I can't believe Blake said that," in record time. While the alleged harassment storyline was the initial talking point, the real issue seems to be a power grab behind the scenes of It Ends With Us. People close to the production claimed that Lively was not just an actress on set. She was essentially calling the shots. Reports surfaced that she replaced staff members, fired the original composer, and orchestrated the entire production to suit her vision.
They just never thought that anybody was going to come out with the receipts.
Because no one's ever done it. Because everyone just bows
Because everyone's
down.
scared.
Yeah.
Because Ryan Reynolds A-list, Blake Lively A-list. Like, don't, they're the queen of the king.
Baldoni, who was supposed to be the director and had rights to the franchise, found himself sidelined. Joe Rogan didn't mince words in calling out these moves. He suggested that Lively and Reynolds tried to use the hashtag #MeToo movement as a tool, not to champion true victims, but to wrest creative control from Baldoni.
Van City Reynolds, who has blocked me, so I can still view his stuff. I just can't post anything. You see, guys, it's all grayed out. Look at that. My feelings are really hurt.
The story hinted that Reynolds was heavily involved, too. While he's frequently the face of comedic marketing campaigns, critics argued he wielded just as much clout in pushing Baldoni out. Rogan commented that weaponizing serious issues to gain leverage in a film is the kind of moral bankruptcy Hollywood has been guilty of.
He's like, oh,
It's
remember our
crazy.
tech exchange? Bah, bah,
How about she
bah,
told
bah.
him to, to come into the dressing room while she was breastfeeding?
Time and again, in one fell swoop, the supposedly progressive image of Lively and Reynolds started to look more like a corporate strategy than authentic advocacy. As if the details weren't already salacious enough, Baldoni filed a jaw-dropping $400 million lawsuit. It alleged defamation, extortion, false light invasion of privacy, and more. The number alone made people gasp. It's not everyday you. See a complaint that high against two of the biggest names in entertainment.
Him to come into the dressing room while she was breastfeeding.
They're fun
And then
ass.
part of the complaint was that he came into the dressing room while I was breastfeeding. Like, you literally have a text exchange back and forth.
But the claims went beyond just these two individuals. Baldoni also aimed his legal crosshairs at prominent media outlets, including the New York Times, accusing them of one-sided coverage that only favored Blake and Ryan. Suddenly, the machine that once shielded Lively and Reynolds seemed fractured. Headlines pivoted from praising the couple's philanthropic ventures to questioning whether they had orchestrated a smear campaign.
I was blocked by Ryan Reynolds. Yes. Predator Pool himself blocked me. I don't know when he blocked me. I don't know if it's when I exposed on X what happened with his daughter in Deadpool and that abhorrent things that they made her do.
Outraged fans began flooding Ryan's social media accounts, if they weren't already blocked, and calling out Blake's feminist persona as hypocritical. Ironically, the same intensity Lively and Reynolds had allegedly hoped to direct at Baldoni was now turned on them. Aviation Gin and Mint Mobile, both strongly associated with Reynolds, got pulled into the drama when people on social platforms vowed to avoid his brands. The meltdown became so severe that some brand accounts appeared to go quieter, seemingly distancing themselves from the swirling controversy. None of this explosive shift in public opinion happened in a vacuum. Joe Rogan's strong condemnation created a snowball effect. When he compared Baldoni's story to Johnny Depp's tumultuous battle against Amber Heard, it resonated with a wide-ranging audience who remembered how quickly assumptions can destroy someone's reputation. The fact that Rogan wasn't just speculating, he was referencing specific evidence and calling out mainstream media, made skeptics want to see the proof for themselves. Rogan's reach goes far beyond the typical Hollywood gossip crowd. His listeners include everyone from MMA fans to stand-up comedy enthusiasts to everyday people who just like his candid style. Once he sounded the alarm, viewers who never followed celebrity drama started digging into the allegations, reading lawsuit details, and realizing that this wasn't just another petty Hollywood spat. It had real-life stakes involving false allegations, career sabotage, and possibly the misuse of social justice movements. The Johnny Depp comparison acted like a code red warning.
It's whiny, it's bratty, and it needs to end. So to that, I say thank you to Blake Lively.
Remember how the narrative shifted in that case when the evidence came out. Fans saw that even the most beloved or credible stars can spin stories if they think no one will challenge them. This situation became even more charged when Blake Lively painted herself as a champion of women, seemingly implying she was fighting the same fight as legitimate survivors. However, critics argue that her actions contradicted genuine feminism. While it's true that many women in the industry have spoken out about real harassment, the text messages and recordings from Baldoni suggest Lively stretched the truth.
This is an amazing support that Justin is now getting from Joe Rogan on this case, and it's going to continue to get ugly as more things come out.
Asterisk, what really set people off was seeing influential outlets run with Blake's allegations while dismissing Baldoni's receipts. Anyone who dared question Blake was labeled misogynistic or anti-woman. Rogan and other commentators slammed that rhetoric, pointing out that supporting women's rights does not mean abandoning due process or ignoring contradictory evidence. This misuse of a real social movement struck a nerve. People who normally champion women's empowerment started to wonder if maybe Lively's brand of feminism was less about uplifting other women and more about personal gain. If that was the case, her stance could potentially set back the very causes she claimed to support, making it easier for skeptics to dismiss legitimate survivors in the future. At first glance, you might think this is just a messy battle between two Hollywood parties with conflicting egos, but the implications run deeper than that. For years, celebrities with massive PR budgets have banked on the idea that their influence and connections can overshadow any inconvenient facts.
She told the composer that she brought in when the other one was fired and she wanted let go, allegedly because Taylor Swift wanted him let go.
They control the headlines, shape the social media discussion, and rely on fans who will stand by them no matter what. However, the Baldoni-Lively-Reynolds triangle is forcing the public to question that power dynamic. If someone as well-liked as Ryan Reynolds and someone as seemingly wholesome as Blake Lively can face such a monumental backlash over questionable accusations, maybe the tide is turning. People are starting to demand hard evidence before condemning anyone.
Basically called him and said that she has moved into the role of taking control of the movie and finishing it and doing the whole movie.
The old formula, famous person says it, so it must be true, is losing its grip. Asterisk, meanwhile, mainstream media outlets are under new scrutiny. The New York Times and others are named in Baldoni's lawsuit for allegedly presenting a lopsided account. It's a stark reminder that even reputable papers can be swayed by celebrity influence. Baldoni's fight to make his side heard is a rallying cry for other men and women who feel they've been buried under false claims. As more voices come forward, this situation could spark a massive conversation on holding Hollywood bigwigs accountable, no matter how beloved their public personas. Blake and Ryan's team, once known for witty ads and polished interviews, appears to be in crisis mode. Fans are noticing changes in how their social media accounts interact with the public. Some people are outright blocked, while others complain.
Mr. Reynolds was a key player in the scheme, defaming Justin around Hollywood, strong-arming WME, their agency, into dropping Justin as a client and trying to destroy Justin's career however possible.
That negative comments are quickly disappearing. Aviation Gin and Mint Mobile, previously championed by an ever-joking Reynolds, are receiving a flood of poor reviews from disgruntled fans who feel duped by the star's wholesome persona. Joe Rogan's coverage propelled the conversation into spaces Hollywood gossip doesn't usually reach. Fathers who see their own sons in Baldoni's position are riled up. Women who fear that false allegations damage real survivors are vocalizing frustration. Average viewers who once put celebrities on a pedestal are now more willing to question them.
Opened up about the fact that she struggles for equality, all of the struggles that she faces on behalf of trying to stand up as a woman.
It's a perfect storm, especially if the lawsuit goes to trial and more behind-the-scenes details become public record. For Lively and Reynolds, the consequences could be severe. Even if they come out legally unscathed, they're squeaky clean. Reputations may never fully recover. And if the court sides with Baldoni, it won't just be a personal victory. It'll be a monumental message that manipulative tactics like these have no place in the industry. So, what happens now that the secret's out? Will the public stand by a couple whose brand once relied on fan-friendly banter? Or will Blake and Ryan fade into Hollywood infamy if more damaging evidence sees the light of day? Joe Rogan's heavy-handed commentary has already shaken up the narrative.
But I'm grateful that she's going through this because it's making a lot of people question what, in fact, modern feminism has become.
With mounting proof from Baldoni and increasing skepticism among fans, it's clear this is more than just tabloid fodder. It's a potential tipping point in how we handle allegations, proof, and the machine that controls celebrity news. Hollywood is notorious for smoke and mirrors, but this time, those mirrors might be shattered. If nothing else, Justin Baldoni's stand has shown that even the biggest stars can be held to account when someone has the backbone and the receipts to challenge them. As viewers and consumers, maybe we owe it to ourselves to look past the polished social media images and ask the tough questions when serious allegations arise. Whether you're rooting for Baldoni's redemption, waiting for more scandalous revelations, or simply curious to see if Lively and Reynolds can bounce back from this, one thing is certain: this story is far from over. In a world where headlines can make or break a career, it's proof that the truth, when backed by documented evidence, can still overpower even the most refined Hollywood spin.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more awesome content.